Amsterdam wasn't always Amsterdam. For decades, Amsterdam has been revered as the patron city of bikes. But it wasn't always this way. In 1975, the Netherlands had a higher traffic fatality rate than America did. It was only because of activism from across the Netherlands that made it the biking haven we know today. Led by the country's youth, 1970s anti-car protests in the Netherlands, such as Stop die Kindermoord or Stop the Child Murder, used civil activism to inspire infrastructural and cultural change, forging a turning point in urban transportation history and making the Netherlands the bicycle haven it is today, and a role model for other countries around the world. So, how did the Netherlands become a biking paradise? And how are American cities making Amsterdam their model? To answer these questions, we have to start at the beginning. Just like in the US, the car took the Netherlands by storm, increasing the need for road space and drowning out bikes in traffic. From 1956 to 1973, the number of cars in the Netherlands multiplied by a factor of 10, and many Netherlanders were in favor of the new change. As Ton Hammers, head of the pro-car safer traffic party, stated about the canal outside his business, "Fill it in. Then, at least, I'll have a place to park my car." The car revolution was changing the way the Dutch thought about traffic. The US accepted the car sooner than the Netherlands did. In 1960, there were 410 cars for every 1,000 Americans, compared to just a tenth of that number of the Netherlands. The Netherlands, and Amsterdam in particular, was considered a biking paradise by American standards. But that isn't to say that the Netherlands wasn't keeping up with America's car growth. From 1960 to 1970, the number of cars in the Netherlands was growing at a rate that was just 7% short of the United States. And this extended into the 1970s as well. In 1975, the traffic fatality rate was 15% higher in the Netherlands than it was in the US at the time. Both the US and the Netherlands were suffering from traffic fatalities with a massive explosion of cars in the 60s and 70s, and each of them would take a distinctly different approach to quell this problem. So, how did the Dutch turn their car-centric country into a biking haven? That all happened in the 70s, when bike activism really took a turn. It's Amsterdam, 1970. The number of cars in the city center has increased by over 74,000 in the past 5 years. The bike is, essentially, dead. But not for long. On September 2nd, 1972, writer Vic Langenhoff released an article in the newspaper De Tijd that would change the way Netherlanders thought about traffic forever. This article was titled Stop die Kindermoord, or, in English, Stop the Child Murder. In 1975, the Netherlands experienced 3,200 fatal deaths from crashes, 20% higher than the fatality rate in the US at the time. The Netherlands was facing an epidemic of auto fatalities, and the people were fed up with it. Langenhoff's article was impactful. In the following years, anti-car protests led by children and their mothers became more and more common. Children made petitions and protested for play streets that would be closed off to cars. Some activists used their own unofficial barriers to prevent cars from entering certain streets, much to the annoyance of motorists. In one instance in 1970, protesters blocked off Leidenstraat, a street that had been inaccessible to cyclists. After the group put up impromptu blockades 4 times in 1 month, the mayor and city council announced that they would temporarily experiment with a car ban on Leidenstraat. The protests had worked. But to really seal the deal, Netherlanders needed to see what a car-free country could feel like. In 1973, the Arab oil embargo reduced access to oil nationwide. In order to ration precious oil, a new plan was introduced: car-free Sundays, 1 day a week when cars would be forgone. Car-free Sundays were a hit. The Dutch were hooked. Bike shops experienced huge jumps in sales, and children had picnics on the empty streets. The kids had finally gotten a taste of the car-free play streets they had been protesting for. In the following years, bike protests gained more and more traction. In 1974, two Amsterdam Auto-Free, or Car-Free Amsterdam, protests were held. Amsterdam Auto-Free protests became an annual tradition, and each protest attracted well over 1,000 participants. This all came to a head with the last annual protest in 1978, which took place just 4 days before the city council elections, with the hope of swaying the vote in favor of pro-bike candidates. 15,000 people participated in the demonstration. 4 days later, the election results came in. It worked. The face of Amsterdam, and all of the Netherlands, would be changed forever. The same year as the protest, newly elected city council members passed the new traffic circulation plan, which aimed to reduce car traffic in central Amsterdam. And the changes didn't stop there. In the 1980s, bike racks, bridges, and separate bike paths were built all around Amsterdam. But the reform wasn't just about building bike-specific infrastructure. It was about changing the way that bikers interacted with other forms of transportation. Streets were redesigned to encourage drivers to go slowly and to give bikers control on the road. At the same time, the US changed in a different way. America, also trying to tackle increasing traffic fatality rates, subscribed to the forgiving highway approach. Wide, smooth roads that would forgive drivers' mistakes by giving them ample opportunity to correct them. The US saw a reduction from 44,000 fatalities each year to 37,000 from 1975 to 2008, even with an increasing population. However, this approach had some faults. By making roads wider and easier to drive on, it encouraged drivers to increase speeds and be less cautious. While the forgiving highway reduced motorist fatalities, it did nothing to prevent cyclist deaths. While the forgiving highway did benefit American motorists, the Netherlands approach had an even bigger effect. Cars became less common and bicycles more frequent in Amsterdam city center. By 2008, the number of bike deaths in the Netherlands each year had dropped by 75% to 800, less than half of America's traffic fatality rate. Now, there are more bikes in Amsterdam than there are people. Kids bike to school from a young age without having to worry about dangerous cars. The Netherlands approach worked, but how is inspiration being taken from the Netherlands and applied to other places? How are American cities becoming like Amsterdam? I live in Philadelphia, and in 2023, the city saw record highs of bicycle and pedestrian traffic fatalities. I interviewed Nicole Brunet, a member of the Bicycle Coalition of Greater Philadelphia, a bike activist group fighting for traffic safety. When I interviewed her, I asked her how she thought positive change could be made in a place like Philadelphia.
Really, when we come together is how we've been able to move the needle. Having different measures on the road so that drivers don't feel like they can go very fast. It's very hard to change behavior, but different kinds of road design can help to calm drivers.
Sound familiar? All of the points that Nicole talked about, from getting organized on a small scale to bike-friendly infrastructure, are directly parallel to Amsterdam and the Netherlands. America isn't a lost cause for bikes. We've already started on the path. As Marco te Brommelstroot, chair of Urban Mobility Futures at the University of Amsterdam, shared in a tweet, the argument that your city is not like Amsterdam is invalid. Neither was Amsterdam. It took long, radical effort. Sometimes, all it takes is one little push, one article, one group of people getting together on some bikes, some kids playing in the street, and then you're pedaling, and you don't want to look back.